Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be talking about my August reads, and my August reads were pretty Kindle and audiobook heavy. I only actually have one physical book that I read for this month, and then the other one I've been reading over the course of the whole year with one of my friends, so it doesn't count. But let's just jump right in. So my story graph I'll put on the screen for you guys. So 91% fiction, 9% nonfiction because of this guy right here. I read 11 books, 4,266 pages. My average rating was 3.86 stars, 45% audio, 36% digital, 18% print. And the average book length was 410 pages. It says my average time to finish was 22 days. Obviously that's skewed because I spent months reading this one. So let's just jump right in. We'll start with Mother Culture by Karen Andriola. I read this with my friend Valerie. She got it for me for my birthday. She ended up getting it for Christmas. So we decided to read 5 chapters a month until we got through the whole book. I don't usually rate nonfiction books, but if you are a homeschooling mama, this is a good book for you to read so you can establish some mother culture for yourself, so you can take care of yourself in addition to taking care of your babies. So there's that one. And then my other physical book was Like Mother, Like Daughter by Kimberly McCreet. And it did take me a little bit to get into this book because I don't know if you can tell, but the font on it is tiny. And the one complaint I have about Book of the Month is that I wish they would make a universal font. So that way all the books were the same size, because this print I feel is tiny, but then my Book of the Month for September, it's a lot larger. So my one complaint about Book of the Month. So for this book, I gave it a 3.75 stars. I put multiple POVs and timelines, pretty bingeable. I felt like this book had a lot of potential, but it lost me in the middle and the ending was anticlimactic. I guess who did it with a good amount of storyline left. So I know who did it. I was just reading it to see how it ended up happening, and it didn't, not what I wanted, you know what I mean? But it is a quick read once you actually get into it. So I feel like you could go through it pretty quickly. So basically this book is about Cleo and Kat. Cleo the daughter, Kat is the mother, and Cleo and her mother have a tumultuous relationship, as most teenage daughters have with their mother, and her mom ends up going missing. She can't find her. So it's basically how Cleo is going to find out where her mother is, and kind of like a whodunit, I guess, but a predictable whodunit, in my opinion. I'm sure there's some people who might not have predicted it as well as I have, but a good little story nonetheless. Right, and next up I'm going to go through all my Kindle reads. So first one is The Reunion by Megan Quinn. I gave this one 3.75 stars, and basically it follows 3 different siblings and their 3 love interests. So you have 6 point of views to read through, which is a lot and can be very overwhelming. And basically the siblings are trying to plan their parents' 40th or 50th anniversary party, and they're I wouldn't say estranged, but they don't have the best of relationship, and the book is basically them trying to get back to the relationship they had when they were kids. Like I said, I gave it 3.75 stars. It's 6 point of views. I really do like the banter that she had in this book. Like, I don't know if Megan Quinn has siblings, but I feel like the sibling banter that she captured in this book was pretty spot on to my brothers. Like the way the female main character talked to her brothers is basically how I talk to my brothers. But so she captured the complexities of sibling relationships perfectly. Palmer was insufferable, and Palmer is the sister. She was insufferable for most of the book, and I thought she had like a little redemption, and then not really. So she was my least favorite character in this book, which is why I only gave it a 3.75. Basically, if Palmer's character wasn't as insufferable to me, I probably would have rated it a little bit higher. But I did like how everyone came together at the end, just showing how beautifully messy family can be. The next few I'm going to be talking about are the Elsie Silver, what is this called? Gold Rush Ranch series. I read the first one last month. So this one is a Violet and Cole story. Cole is the brother to Vaughn in the first book. Violet is the jockey that Billy in the first book is training. So it's basically their love story. I rated this 4.25 stars, which I believe is higher than the first one. Violet and Cole have an age gap. I know some people don't like age gap romances. I don't mind them as long as it's not like, you know, a minor with an adult. Then I'm bothered. But if you're two grown people, who cares? Also, my husband and I have an age gap. My husband is 8 years older than me, so I can kind of relate to Violet and Cole in that aspect. And I really did like their story. I love how we were able to see Cole's growth. I know how to talk, I swear. Cole's growth, he really does progress a lot from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, and I loved that for him because I feel like sometimes male main characters don't get as much personal development as female characters do, so I loved that we got to see Cole's progression throughout this book, even from like the first book too. I like the way that Elsie wrote about PTSD and mental health and the intricacies of it. The only reason I didn't rate it higher was because the miscommunication drives me insane. Slow burn, second chance, age gap romance. My goodness, Dominique. Cannot talk today. So that's how I felt about Photo Finish. Okay, so the next one up in the series is The Front Runner, and this one's probably my favorite book in the 4-book series. And this one is about Mira and Stefan, and Stefan is probably my favorite, one of my favorite book boyfriends. I will talk about the other one that is probably, I think him and the other one are going to be top 2 for sure. But Stefan, however you want to pronounce it. I have a quote actually in my review for him. I rated this one 4.75 stars. And the quote is from Mr. Stefan himself. And it says, "I've never considered myself a particularly good man. I never thought I was a bad man either. I was just a man with a sad past and no one to love. And then I saw you. It only took one look and I swear some part of me knew." So yes, this is about Mira and Stefan's love story. And Mira is actually the vet for the Gold Rush Ranch. Stefan is like the arch nemesis. So it's kind of, I guess you could say, like an enemies to lover. They never really had bad blood between each other, but Stefan has bad blood with Gold Rush Ranch. Not even Stefan, it's Billy from the first book has bad blood with Stefan from Gold Rush Ranch. So kind of like enemies to lovers, but not really. It's more like a forbidden romance. And I really liked Billy's character in the first book, but in this third book, her like side character was just annoying. She really annoyed me in this book. But Mira and Stefan's love story is like, loved it, absolutely loved it. What else did I say about it? I said this has been my favorite book in the series so far. Stefan is everything. The only reason it's not 5-star is because I wish we got a little more at the end, but I love how their story makes you feel all of the emotions, okay? All of them. You want to cry, you want to laugh, you're mad, you're happy, all of them. Love Stefan and Mira. They are my favorite in this series. So yes, the last one in the series is, oh my God, my foot, is A False Start. So this is about Nadia and Griffin, and Nadia is Stefan's little sister. And again, there's an age gap between Griffin and Nadia. It's 14 years, I believe. And this one was my least favorite. I only gave it a 3.25 stars. I just couldn't connect to the characters. It just kind of seemed to drag on, and Griffin's self-loathing was kind of annoying. Like, he was self-loathing the entire book until basically the end. I did like the end, but, you know, it just wasn't my favorite. That's all. He did redeem himself in the end, but, like, throughout the rest of the book, I'm just kind of like, okay, bad things happen to you. You're 35, get over it, kind of thing. And yeah, that's how I felt about that one. So the next few books that I'm going to be talking about are actually audiobooks. So the first book I listened to was La Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. And I rated this one a 4 stars. And if you've been watching my book reviews a few months ago, I don't remember when, but we read The Mexican Gothic. And I feel like this book was what the Mexican Gothic could have been. You know what I mean? So basically, Beatriz comes to live at her new husband's property, and she discovers that her husband's house is haunted. Him and his sister live there too, and they don't know who's haunting the house, and it seems to only be affecting Beatriz. And she ends up having a priest come, because when she tried to talk to one of the priests, he basically told her that she was crazy, and she wrote a note to her husband, basically like, get your wife. She over here causing shenanigans. But one of the younger priests who actually grew up on her property believed her, so he came to help her. Basically about Beatriz and the priest trying to cleanse the house of the spirit, and what Beatriz goes through before she calls the priest in, and how it is afterwards, and all of that jazz. I rated it a 4 stars. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and it was supernatural in a creepy but captivating way. And the house was the best character, in my opinion, especially the way the narrator, if you listen to the audiobook, the narrator, the voices that the narrator makes for the houses, it's so creepy but so cool at the same time. Yeah, liked that one. It was a 4 stars. My next one was, okay, so I continued the Twisted Game series. I read Twisted Love back in like February, maybe even January this year. It was way at the beginning of the year. And it wasn't my favorite, so I wasn't going to continue the series. However, I heard that they're coming out with like a Twisted Love. I don't remember if it's a movie or a TV show or whatever. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll continue the series just to see what they're about. So the Twisted Games, this one is about Bridget von Ashburg, who is the princess. So basically it's a group of 4 girlfriends, right? And I read the second and the third. I haven't read the fourth yet. But the second one is about Bridget von Ashburg and her bodyguard that she falls in love with. And it's like a forbidden love story kind of thing, because obviously she's a princess and Reese Larson is a bodyguard. So I rated this one 3.25 stars. Forbidden romance, enemies to lovers. I liked this one more than the first one, but at some point it just seemed to drag on. Some of it ended up being predictable, but the chemistry between the female main character and the male main character was good. So loved their chemistry, but it was just too long, you know? It was 13 hours and 14 minutes, and I feel like it could have been cut down to like 11. You know what I mean? 11's a good spot for that one. It was just a little too long. And with that, I read the third one, and it was 15 hours. Okay? So again, it dragged on. It's called Twisted Hate, and from the title, it is an enemies to lovers, and it's about Josh and Jules. Josh is the brother to the female main character in the first book. Jules is her best friend. And they were downright insufferable in the beginning of the book. I was trying to power through it, but it was 15 hours long. So first of all, way too long. It was not needed, okay? Second of all, absolutely hated the beginning, but I really liked the end. I feel like the end kind of redeemed it for me. And as always, there's some dumb miscommunication in there that didn't need to be in there, but it was, so it always knocks down the rating. But Josh, the way he's presented in the first book as like cold and standoffish versus how he is in this third book, I like that we got to see more of his character and how he really was versus just the facade that he had. So I did like that, but I just really hate the miscommunication trope. And it seems like every freaking romance novel has it. It's so annoying. I'm going to say my favorite book for last. Next book I listened to was The Rebound by Leanne Slade. And the only reason why I picked this is because it's narrated by Claudia Jessie. And if you watch Bridgerton on Netflix, Miss Eloise is Claudia Jessie. So the actual story in itself was, it was okay. I gave it a 3.25 stars. And it's basically about Kitty Harris, who gets proposed to by her fiance, freaks out, and they decide to spend the summer apart to see if they really want to get, I feel like this genre or this trope has been done so many times. But yeah, she was proposed to, her and her fiance broke up, and they were like, at the end of the summer, ask me again and see what my answer is. And from the title, The Rebound, she, spoiler alert, doesn't end up going back with her fiance. And I rated this 3.25 stars. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have finished it if it weren't for Claudia Jessie being the narrator. She did such a good job narrating this book. I loved it. The first 20 chapters or so were great. And then after that, it was just like, the last few chapters kind of dragged on to what was going to be a pretty predictable ending. And I feel like maybe the author knew it was going to be predictable, that obviously she got together with her rebound. So them getting there, she had to, you know, make it a little different. But I just feel like it wasn't necessary. You know what I mean? I feel like it just prolonged the book unnecessarily, you know? Anyway, Claudia Jessie, great. Actual story, it was all right. So the last book we're going to be talking about was my only 5-star read of the month. And I was looking forward to this book since I read Icebreaker, okay? Henry's character in Icebreaker, if you read Icebreaker and Wildfire, Henry was always such an intriguing side character that I'm like, I would love to know more about Henry. Okay, give me more about Henry. And Hannah Grace gave me more about Henry. Okay, this was the best book in the series, in my opinion, out of the 3. I feel like you could also see Hannah Grace come into her character, or come into herself more as a writer, because her writing in this book versus her writing in Icebreaker, you can see the growth. So this is about Henry and Hallie and their love story. And it has all of the characters from the first 2 books as well, which is very nice. So we still get to see Aurora and Russ. We still get to see Stassi and Nate. JJ, of course, if Hannah Grace does the next book, if she could do a book on JJ, that would be great. But like I said, I've been wanting a story about Henry, and this one did not disappoint. I read it with my 2 best friends. I actually forgot that it came out this month in August. I thought it came out in September. I thought it was September 27th. That's what I had my head programmed to, oh, that's when it comes out. But it came out August 27th. So my best friend was such a darling angel, and she actually sent me the book on Audible, so that way I didn't have to wait for it, because, of course, even though I went to look at it the day it came out, there was already like 100 people waiting to read it at the library, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to read this book for forever. So she sent me the book on Audible, and I listened to it. So what I wrote was that I really loved how we got to see more of Russ, Aurora, Nate, and Stassi in the book, and it was like a full circle moment. So I loved the addition of, I already loved Henry, okay? And at the end of this book, I loved Henry even more. Henry and Stefan, right up there with book boyfriends, okay? They're great. Loved them. And then I loved the addition of Hallie in this book. The way she writes about Hallie is absolutely beautiful. And there's actually a note from Hannah at the beginning of the book that explains that she tries to write a little bit of herself in each of her characters. And she also dedicated this book to all the oldest daughters out there. And as a fellow oldest daughter, Hallie and I were right here, okay? Being the oldest daughter, you're basically a mom your whole life. And I think the way that Hannah wrote about this felt so validating. And I just absolutely loved Hallie's character, and I loved how Henry pushed Hallie to care more about herself versus caring about other people. And I also loved that there was no dumb breakup or miscommunication in this book. Like, Henry and Hallie had such healthy communication. They respected each other's boundaries. They were just chef's kiss. I loved Henry and Hallie. They were absolutely amazing. So even if you don't read Icebreaker and Wildfire, read Daydream, okay? It's great. I loved it so much. And with that, guys, those are all the books I read for this month. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your favorite books of the month. Let me know what you got going on. I would love to check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.